Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Troy.
And I'm Ben-Jamin Toy.
We're broadcasting from the Cohesion Culture headquarters in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, where even when it rains, the sun still shines.
You're going to hear real-time stories from leaders confessing their most crucial or recent experiences in business.
Learn what their cost them, steps they took to fix it, and how they planned
to not do that one again.
Here we are at the podcast, and we are introducing a good colleague and friend of ours, Darrel Q. Bruce. And Darrel is an inventor, and he is our resident AI expert. Darrel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. And so we like to always start off with something we call connections before content. So we have a question for you. We want you to share right away with our listeners. Because you are an inventor, I kind of thought this might be a really good question for you. And that would be, what is your favorite invention?
Well, it was something that I invented maybe 3 months ago. I started inventing bots, AI bots. And one of the bots I invented was able to build me music and songs and beautiful R&B and rap songs. So that's something that I've been playing with, and I'm really getting better at it too. So it's fun.
Okay, great. And then now, what is an invention that somebody else has created that is something that you think might be your favorite, or maybe something you use? Maybe it's something that you wouldn't, that has really shaped your life or changed your life or something like that. What would that be?
Well, invention that somebody else created that's really changed my life is I've been looking at a lot of what Elon Musk is doing, right? And his robots, one of his robots that he's building, and I've been watching and researching those and trying to figure out how it would just integrate in today's society. And it's been fun. It's been something that I want to kind of invest in myself.
Yeah, great. Ben-Jamin, how about you?
I'm quite partial to duct tape.
Ooh, that's a good one. Good one.
Yep, it has allowed me to do and accomplish many things.
It's like
fix things, make things, build things.
With all things duct tape.
Yep.
Yeah, my granddaughter actually made wallets and purses and things out of duct tape.
And they have all the styles now. They have patterns. They have all these things.
I know, really, truly amazing. So
I put up all my pictures with duct tape now.
So for me, it was really funny. I was going to do something like a little off the wall sort of invention that I kind of thought would be, something different. But then I have to go back to the telephone and say, we wouldn't be doing this podcast today without the telephone. My interactions with people, wouldn't be as great today as it would be. Like, I can communicate with so many more people through my text messaging, through my phone calls, than I would have in the past if I would have been restricted to either just a face-to-face interaction, or if I had to, send something through snail mail.
And if I were to go back, mine would be socks. Because think about it, if every time you go to this person's house, and especially if they want you to take your shoes off, if you don't have socks, oh boy.
And there was a time when they didn't.
Yeah.
And then, be a lot more feet washing.
We could make this the invention podcast.
There we go.
In the future, right?
Oh man, yes, I love it.
All right, good.
Awesome. So, Darrel, before we get into some of the meat, we want our listeners to know who you are, as in identity, not who you are as in roles that you have. Okay. So leave humility aside right now. Share background, accomplishments, initials, certifications. Tell the listeners what you've done and what you enjoy. Like, just let them know a little bit more about Darrel Q. Bruce.
So, and I appreciate that question. And as we speak right now, I'm a single dad. You might have a 2-year-old running here and just disrupt this whole thing. So that's pretty much where I like to start my core. It starts where,
It's okay. It'll be an uh-oh
yeah,
to the uh-oh, so we'll be good.
that's our
It,
you know,
it illustrates
2-year-old.
work-life integration. So we want people to have lives that work and life are integrated. And being a single dad cannot be easy. I cannot imagine what that's like. So it's okay
Yeah.
that that's the case. And I think we're also moving as a society where people understand and realize that. And I'm actually reminded of a video where a guy was in a job interview and he had to go shut the door because his kids were there and he didn't have pants on, right? And then the
Yeah.
guy he was interviewing is like, just without saying it, just got up to go fill up his coffee again and show that he wasn't wearing pants either.
I
A
love
real live interview.
No, there's an uh-oh experience happening right before your very eyes.
Yep.
There
So
you go.
sorry to interrupt, but keep going.
Okay, Darrell. Yeah,
Well,
go back.
that's my core. So I started off in quality. I've been doing quality for 25 years. So I'm 45 years old, originally from Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. So I kind of started with nothing, and I worked my way through college, worked my way up to being a quality engineer. I'm teaching now. I'm developing courses. I'm creating AI bots. It's been an amazing journey for me. I got to the point now where all I want to do is just kind of give the next generation what I have, and that's been my mission. That's why being a single dad is where I core. It's probably my core focus right now, but it's building and my business is growing off of it. That's where I get my blessings, guys.
That's really
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Awesome. So Darrell, thanks for sharing a little bit about yourself, and feel free to add, to this as you go on. So, what
Yeah,
was the uh-oh experience that you would like to share with us today? We know that leadership is messy.
yeah,
We know that sometimes things don't always work out exactly the way we want them to, but we do believe that people can learn from other people's mistakes, mishaps, hiccups, whatever you want to call it. So we'd like to learn from you today. So what is the uh-oh experience that you want to share with us?
well, I had plenty experiences in business. I've been doing this for over 14 years. So, but one of the main things that I wanted to talk about probably would help your listeners more is one thing that I keep making the same mistake. So my mouth kind of get my business into areas where I can't get out of, right? So to speak. I like to talk these great ideas because I'm a creator and inventor, so I can make a business every day. But one thing I had to understand, I can't bring people along unless I have a true product, right? So I'm launching and I'm causing confusion with branding. I'm wasting resources. I'm sitting here bringing people on, and I really didn't have a product, right? So I started off in quality, and I had this idea of building all these quality engineers and quality inspectors and pushing this skill. But when I brought everybody on, I sat down at one of these dinners and I figured, like, you know what, guys, what are we selling? Right. So that was my biggest mistake.
That's great. And to be able to recognize that. So what was it that allowed you to recognize it? Like, how did you get the feeling that this was like this uh-oh moment for you? What was it that happened?
When we were actually trying to sell something and call customers, that's when you get to the customer and you're talking to a customer and they're asking you selling something, right? But they ask you, what are you selling? That's when, life and reality start hitting you. Like, okay, I can't make too many of these calls and I can't sell them anything.
But yeah, what is it and what does it do? So you're relatively new in this journey, right? Because you've been employed and you were employed for a while. So this journey into ownership or entrepreneurship is relatively new, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it
So
is.
I'm amazed and so happy for you that you got to that point so early on. But also to the idea that realizing that, okay, I share your actual pedigree, if you will. I was in automotive quality 20 years ago. That's when I
Wow.
started. So industrial engineering, so all those things. And we are designed to find fault, but then improve it, right? Like
Yes.
that's how we're classically trained. And so it's easy for me to always want to improve or come up with new things. And I realized while normally I'm an internal processor, I'm a verbal processor about ideas. And I realized that my wife thought that I was always going to execute on things. And I'm like, no, I'm just talking about things. And so it's where you're saying you can come up with a new thing every day, but then you really have to realize, okay, well, how am I going to do this? What's the execution? What's the business? And so the business savvy part that it took me probably a good decade to learn. I'm glad that you got there very soon to realize that there's more to it than an idea, because an idea is not why we get paid.
No.
It's not even execution. It's the consistency of the execution that actually gets us paid. And if you can get to that point sooner, you realize that you'll make some money and you'll impact the world a little more because you've delivered something that also is quality.
Yeah, and it's so important, and that was great that you said that. And even you saying that, it helped me understand more the area that I'm at, because I'm still trying to learn this. I'm still trying to build a product that the customer wants. That is the key.
Yeah. And what I think that I heard in what you were saying is that there's has to be an authenticity in what you're doing. So having that real product keeps it from being a vaporware, right? It allows it to be something that's not just conceptual, but something tangible. Oftentimes, even though we can sell, even though like services can somewhat, or there can be an opportunity where they are conceptual in nature, the fact is that they produce something, right? So
Yeah.
it's really focusing on it. So I think that for our cohesive leaders, individuals who are wanting to grow, develop, and advance in their mindsets or the way they think about things, is to make sure that they are applying some level of authenticity. You could try to swindle somebody into buying something without having it, but you really need to make sure it's real and to do that. How did you go? How do you now go about making it real?
So what I do now to make it real, I try to focus. I refocus the whole mission. I try to. What I do now is talk to my customers, talk to my fans. I want to go by what they want. You know, I like to talk. When I talk to my customers, I ask them, so exactly what do you need? Because I'm not trying to go off of this train ride. I'm trying to have us go together, right? So where can I focus my business on you? Even if it's just one niche is good enough for me to at least start a product, right? So I started there.
Dr. Troy has a quote that says, innovation that doesn't solve a problem,
If it doesn't solve a problem, then it's
just
simply
art,
art.
right? So unless you want to be an artist and just sell that, you've got to solve a problem. So that's a good thing. Now, there is a rub in that world, right? When you're revolutionary and you're trying to create something new, because you're in the forefront of new technology, right? Elon's in that world and things like that, where we're trying to figure out how do we utilize these things. It's good to go back to the customer, but you also have to be forward thinking. I go back to the quote often. If Henry Ford gave the customers what they wanted, all they would want is a faster horse, right?
Mm,
So there's this rub of solving current needs, but you being able to have the forethought and the foresight to be able to solve problems that we're running into. So
yeah.
I think that's where your background can be certainly helpful on that to help with emerging industries.
Yes. And so I kind of think that when we look at your experience and wanting to make sure that you have something real and tangible that you're talking about and you're
Yeah.
presenting, what did this cost you in either terms of relationships or money or opportunities, whatever it is? What did it cost you?
Oh, girlfriends, friends, money.
Okay, I love your priority. You started with girlfriends. Okay, this is
I
good. This is good.
did. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. And I have to keep, because my business has been my number one after my kids. It's been like one of my top priorities to keep going for the last 14 years. So think about if I kept making these experiences and I'm trying to make all these believers around me, they stop becoming believers. So that's where I get in. And of course it happened and it came about, but you filter out a lot of friends and a lot of relationships during that time. And money is not even money is the second thought because that's a given. I invested so much on endless ideas that will happen sooner or later, but you know,
So
can't
I hear you saying it cost you some relationship and some capital with friends. Uh, can you say it's been worth it so far?
Oh, most definitely, I would do it over and over and over and over. 10 more lives. I'm doing this over again.
Okay.
It
What are
has to
some
be
of the
done.
steps? What are the steps then that you're taking to not cost the relationships though? Because if you, I want to go back to all the biographies or all the interviews of some of the most wildly successful folks on their deathbed. It's not what they accomplished. It's not what they did. It's
Yeah,
about the relationships. So as a budding, I mean, we're the same age roughly. So
yeah.
okay, you want to do this and it's a passion. I get that. But are you do you want to be known for only the things that you do or the relationships and characters traits that others will know you for? And what will your children think? What will your children think about that
Okay,
mindset?
only one question
I
at a
know, I
time.
know. I'm just
One question at a
okay.
time. One question at a time.
What steps are you taking to avoid that?
Okay.
And that's a great question. And this is something that I'm learning as we speak. And what I'm doing now, and a lot of my ideas and a lot of my focuses, I don't need to spread out so widely and wildly. Right? If I'm going to start promoting things, even to family members, because I want to keep our relationships first. If I'm not bringing you on to the business, I don't want to talk that business with you, right? So I want to be really strategic where I put my information and the words I use, right? So, like, let's say my brother or my wife or my girlfriend, I want to really try to focus in on what our interests are together in our relationships. I don't want to bring everybody onto my life and my matrix, so to speak. So I've been working on that, being strategic on what I speak to people and who I speak to when it comes to my business.
So really great. So if we kind of just recap a little bit of this, what we're talking about is your experience is basically around being authentic in the things that you're going to present and say. Like you have something really tangible, something that's really, really there. Not getting yourself too distracted by trying to do too many things at one time, casting that net so wide. Because you're right, as an inventor or as an individual who can think up ideas. I'm like you. I mean, I could think up a bunch of stuff. And if I just put all of that out, I could just be, flooding. But what would be the point of flooding the all that information out if it doesn't have a path or if there isn't a reason for it? So you really isolated the reason for doing it, focused on what you're doing. The cost to you is relationships, that when this happens, then it really creates a negative. So if we were thinking about our cohesive leader, and these are individuals inside an organization, like this podcast is really for those folks who want to grow, develop, and advance their career. Maybe they don't get the training and development they need. Possibly they're being overlooked for promotion. We can equate what you just said to how or why an individual may not be promoted. Because if they are just constantly putting things out with no substance, there's no authenticity in what they're doing. They're not being careful about relationships, right, Ben?
There's no deliverability. It's just literally all hat, no cattle.
Exactly. So really getting to the crust of that was really important. So of what you said. So it's been extremely valuable in that. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of your inventions, but just to wrap up this experience,
Yeah.
what are you doing today to make sure that you don't do that one again?
What I'm doing today is basically I'm working on whenever I invent something or my business or just my core business. When we talk about what is my core values, my core value had to change. My number one core value had to change, and what that was just my communication to my people and my focus on my people. Right, so I wanted to make them just like my focus was on my job and my inventions and how great they're going to be and different they're going to be. I want to focus on my relationships individually. So, and that's going to help my business because then I can individualize my customers like that, so to speak.
Okay, all right, that sounds great. And so, what would you like to provide to our listeners? What would be some key things? Like, could you maybe recap in your own words, two or three things that you want them to be thinking about as they, um, are growing and developing in their leadership? What would you say to them?
Be confident. Confidence in yourself and love for yourself is number one. If you don't have that confidence in yourself, you're not going to be able to create any business or make anybody believe in what you are saying. So have that confidence. And then number two, don't give up. Never give up. I don't care if it takes you 20 years to make $1. That $1 will be on your wall because it was worth it. And family and your beliefs, have faith. Family is faith, family is your beliefs. You get it from them. So kind of lean back on family and have a basis. So that's where I come from, the
Yeah,
core.
I really appreciate you talking about like sticking with it, continue to experiment and to do things, and kind of reminds me of one of my favorite inventor little sideline stories that I use sometimes is Thomas Edison. And so the kind of what's been credited, whether it's been 100% factual or not, but the reality is you tell it enough times it becomes real. But the idea was Edison spent 1,000 experiments that he failed in making the light bulb. 1,000 experiments.
Mm.
And when he was asked how he felt about all these failed experiments, what his response was, I have found 1,000 ways not to do it. And I just thought, realistically, I mean, I think it's the tenacity, it's the rigor. Oftentimes in leadership, what we fail to see in individuals, these are people who want to be promoted, but maybe having a little bit more of an entitlement experience in their minds, as opposed to one having the rigor to stick with it, to continue to keep, putting yourself out there and really allowing things to happen and know that they're going to get to the result, but they're going to stick with it until they get there. They have the rigor, they have the determination to really get there. So that's what I'm thinking about, Ben. How about you?
And the crazy thing to that is I've heard that quote to be 10,000. So that's where, I mean, I think it's a lot there, but it even goes to that scenario. That's a factor of 10. Like, are you willing to go forward with it? Right. Or try that many times. And I think that's a testament to a leader needs to attempt that, because to not look back on the failures, but only learn from them. Right. To not be defined by them and only say, well, this time can get right. And then, to be cliche, it's the starfish story where, guys walking on the beach and after a big storm sees the starfish, all these starfish, and then throws one back in, and somebody comes up to him and says, don't you know that's a crazy job? You're not going to get to all of them. And he says, well, it matters to this one. And so the little bits along the way, you can't look at everything you're not doing. You can only look at the things that you are doing. And that, I'll tie in another book. It's the idea of the gap in the game with Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Is if we're comparing ourselves against some futuristic ideal, we're actually going to be depressed. We're going to feel bad. We're going to be anxious about not being there, versus looking back to say, here's how much we've gained so far. Here's how much we have accomplished. And that's a big difference to realize how we can mentally prepare ourselves for the leadership journey.
Yeah, exactly. So Darrel, now I would like to just switch gears just a little bit, because you are near and dear to our hearts. So we appreciate you sharing your experience with us and helping cohesive leaders learn from that. But we got together in our relationship, focusing. We have a little side hustle thing that we've been working on, but also because of your ability with AI, I want to spend a few minutes and talk about that. So you did something pretty incredible for us, Mr. Inventor, extraordinaire for the cohesive leader. And
Yeah.
you helped us create Carl, which
Yeah.
is cohesive artificial response leader. It's the first AI generated book bot of its kind.
Woo!
So,
Yeah.
and so Carl comes along with our book, Becoming a Cohesive Leader, The Power of Guide to Grow, Develop, and Advance Your Career. So, Darrel, talk a little bit about how you approach that project so that leaders could learn from you as to, what was your thought process to get you to this invention that really now became tangible. So it goes back to your initial story that
Yeah.
you just want to do something and don't have a product. You
Yeah.
created something and have a product. So talk about how did you get to that product?
So as I was creating these bots, and these bots do amazing things, and it's not just the Chat GPT thing, or just when you create a bot, you can create it with all the special capabilities that a lot of these things that can have a niche to it, right? So when we was working on this, and it came to me like, what can be the most interactive way anybody can interact with any knowledge or any written knowledge? And we talking about raising our game to the highest level of when it comes to technology, right? So it really was a niche for us to create something, for me to create this where it can guide somebody through a book or through a knowledge or through any knowledge, right? Because you want to ask a question and you want to get the answer like that, right? And you want to be guided through it. So this thing was kind of something that just developed out of, oh, it was a great idea. The book was amazing, and I think it's going to help not just think about what it can grow to when it comes to going to textbooks and people learning some kind of language, or any book that the Bible, it can change the game. And I think it's something, invention that we grew as a team now, that I think is going to change the world. So I appreciate you guys just believing in it.
And it can be found. If you want to find Carl, it's going to be
Yeah.
thecohesiveleader.com/Carl, CARL. And that way, if somebody can find it, they can get access to it. And we're giving it away for free.
Tell
I
me,
know.
tell me what you guys think about it too, just as as owners of it. What do you think? How do you feel
It's been
about
a
it?
fun experience,
Yeah.
guiding, shaping, thinking it as a little child.
Yeah.
We're actually programming it to some degree. I mean, you're doing all the programming. We're just
Yeah.
tweaking it there, and it's been fun to ask questions like, "Why is Ben qualified to be an author for this book?" And it literally
Yeah.
pulls that out, and different things that are in the book. And so I really, really enjoy that interactive experience because
Yeah.
I'm all about experiential learning. And this is
Yeah.
a great way for someone that, let's say, has reading difficulties,
Yeah.
timing difficulties, all the things. When they
Yeah.
have a pressing question and don't have the 30 plus hours to read a book. Okay,
Yeah.
well, they've scanned the table of contents. This looks
Yeah.
like it'd be great. It can help me. Well, I need to know about this one in a bite-sized chunk, and I think that's going to be a dare I say, revolutionary tool in the
Yeah.
market.
And for me, Darrel, what really helped was you allowed us to contain Carl so that Carl responds based on the information that we provided. So you really provided a quality assurance piece to the bot that would not be present if you just would have used the open source of just ChatGPT that would actually go to the internet and find anything that was relatively close to something about leadership or cohesiveness, and it would actually drop it in. And for me, this whole project started from a conversation. So I think it's
Yeah.
important having conversations. And we talked about it because you created for me specifically information around Dr. Troy and what we did for cohesion culture and what Ben's work for his team building and team bonding. And we built that into a little mechanism, a little link that we've not necessarily, had a lot of opportunity to use it yet, but this became a way to say, can we control what people are going to hear back, so that we're ensuring, because people are looking to us as experts. We have a lot of experience. Crazy enough, you know, about 80 years of work experience between the two of us. Yes, if you are ever going to watch this on YouTube, then do not let the hair color fool you. But definitely, we've spent some time with it. And but what we wanted to do was to make sure that when Carl responded, he was in fact responding on our behalf with words that we felt were not only authentic, but words that we felt truly summed up the flavor of who we are. And we love the fact that Carl had this unique ability to put a spin on it and repeat the information without it just being word for word what's in the book. And really just always appreciated the way you brought that to the table, and really just, I will say, revolutionized the way I'm going to interact with this book and the way our readers are interacting with the book today.
Yes.
I also thought the book was just a perfect, and talk about perfect timing for the perfect book, because just having your backpacks and having your way going through this journey, you need a guide. You need your guide to go through this journey of leadership. So this is perfect. I don't think it could have been more perfect for anybody else. So I congratulate you guys on this, most definitely.
Yeah, you're welcome. And we also appreciate your contribution. You know, one of the materials, you know, there are bonus materials in the book that the readers are finding right now. And one of them is from you. And certainly being our AI bot guru, it was important for you to talk a little bit about how that interacts with leadership and what that, you know, what difference it makes. So whether you are an up and coming individual who is looking to have people report to you, or whether it's an individual who already has people reporting to them, your messaging is really important, because it creates either a foundation to say, this is what I need to be thinking about when it's my turn to make those types of decisions, or these are the things I should be thinking about because I do have to make those choices and decisions. So it's really, it fit in so nicely to the book. So we really appreciate you and all of your support.
Thank you for the opportunity, guys. You guys are great. And I'm going to be supporting you throughout this whole journey, most definitely.
So we have two final questions. The first question is, get some words of advice. If you can boil down 60 seconds into giving our listeners something that you've taken away or gathered from this conversation or your recent business endeavors, what can somebody that is striving to be, I don't want to say striving, on the journey to becoming more than what they are, what piece of advice can you give them?
Never be the smartest in the room. Always utilize your mentors. Search for mentors. They always close to you. Don't be too smart to listen. Stop interrupting people when they talk. Be respectful. This business is a game of respect. So make sure you give it like the elders, the old school way. And that's what's been my niche. Even though we go to a new generation, the old school habits of just being a learner and a listener is always going to be your core basis. Don't forget that.
I love that there was not a second, there wasn't even a millisecond of hesitation for you just to go right into that. And I absolutely love that. And we actually have in the book, you can either learn from mentors or mistakes. Yeah. And when you learn from mentors, you're learning from their mistakes. So that's the perfect way. And that's the whole thing about this experiences, right? Yeah. You're learning from other people's experiences.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, one of my biggest mentors is on his phone right now. That's why I said that was dedicated to Dr. Trey. Thank you, sir.
That's awesome.
Oh, Darrel, you're too kind. Thank you. Thank you,
dude. We'll give you 30 seconds to stop that. No. All right. So final random question.
Yeah.
What is something you could do as a child that you can no longer do well now?
Oh man, my imagination. I try to make up and think of things like these kids, like my kids, and I can't. So I need them. So I listen to the young so I can become faster.
Interesting.
Imagine, I didn't even cross my mind.
Well, but I also have a hard time believing that, because as an inventor, you're creating new things. So I can't imagine what it was like as a child. Like if that's what you're doing now, right? You know, what would it be like, you know, then? So that's awesome.
That's why I use social media. Listen to the young. and my ideas come back to me like a kid. But
Love
I
it.
gain that from them.
I think what it is, and what I would think, because that made me think of this. I use my imagination today, but I have so many more filters and qualifiers on it than what I did as a child. I think that's the difference. So as a child, I had a love for Smarties candies. And I also had this love for like superpowers and for, fantasy worlds that, because as a child, you sometimes want maybe a life different than the life that you have, or you want
Yes.
something else, right? So Smarties candies were a big thing. My mom let me have Smarties candies. And, we'll not tell you how many years ago that was, but the colors of the candies were much more dominant than what you'll find today. Today, they're a little more pastel.
Yeah.
So they were a little dominant. And every color in the Smarties candy had a different superpower. And I would take my Smartie, and I forget which color it was now. So let's just say it was the white one. So I took the white Smartie and I would eat it, and I would pretend I was invisible. So I would stand up next to the wall, and I would kind of like hang out on the wall. And my mom would then go, and she'd go, "Where is he? I can't find him." And she would put her hands close to me, and I tried not to giggle, and she would do that. And eventually she'd say, "I really can't." She couldn't find me, so she never did find me. And so it was really interesting. I thought, that sometimes maybe superpowers have qualifiers, because I could take that white Smartie and I could hide from my mom, but I could not hide from my brother. My brother always found me every time I took the white Smartie. So I figured he must have taken another Smartie that counteracted the ability for me to be invisible. So there we go. Imagination. But what would it be like without our imagination? So
I love that.
think about imagination and
Yeah.
see how many filters you place on it. That's going to be my advice for today, is don't allow your imagination to be filtered too much. Children will just play and they'll make it up and they'll go with it. Like they'll introduce imaginary friends. They'll be in a playground even when it's not a playground. And the other friends that come with them, they play along. Like they don't stop. What do we do in business? If a person puts forth an idea that we don't necessarily agree with, or we can't conceptualize it, we either tear it down, we don't support it, but we should be asking more questions to allow the imagination to come forward, because that's how Darrel and I really focused on creating Carl. Was we kept asking ourselves questions like, well, what if, what would that look like? So
Yeah, we didn't restrain each other. We was like
no,
kids playing in the playground, like, oh, like let's try it, like let's do it, and that's where inventions come from. So I love that. Thank you.
absolutely. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Great. All right, so I think we've come to the end.
No,
it's we're at the end.
Time is up.
Time is up.
Yeah.
So
Sorry,
Darrel, thank you so much for being with us, dude. We appreciate you so much. Oh my gosh, your words today. I hope that people listening really can latch on to the things that you were talking about, how much it came from the heart of what you were saying and doing. And and folks who want to interact with us, they can do so by interacting with us through our Cohesion Culture program, or becoming a cohesive leader, making sure that they are getting access to the book and all of the materials. We've got a community that goes along with it, where individuals will have a chance to interact with other individuals, gain more access to the educational pieces that we have. And if they do want to reach out to Ben and I individually, they can do so at info@cohesionculture.net.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time, everybody, especially you, Darrel. We're going to play a little outro, and we'll see you soon.
We're going to finish with our
Thank you, guys.
And
hold on,
Darrel. And this is so appropriate for you, because what you talked about was teachability. So this message is for you. You don't have to know everything.
You just need to be teachable.